Hello everyone, in this video I would like to show you how to create these adaptive doors. And what does it mean? If I go to insert and select this adaptive door number 2 and I try to create them here, I will move them a little bit. They will automatically hide the wall. Also they will create this edge of the wall. If we want, we can change the width of the door. If we hit region, the annotation will automatically change. Also we can rotate this annotation, move it a little bit. If we make the door smaller, like 700 millimeters, we can move it closer if we want. Also we can flip them. And also we can change the thickness. Okay, so let's do it. I already prepared these elements that we will use for the door. So we have some lines there, and also be careful, we have this wipeout there. If you want to create wipeout, you go to home, you select wipeout, and you draw wipeout there. My wipeout is a little bit bigger, or more, it's thicker than the door itself, because we need to hide the thickness of these lines, so the wipeout needs to be bigger. So when we have all these elements, we select all of them, go to create, and we need to think about the name. So adaptive door number 4. In my case, also I need to pick a point, the start point or the origin of this family. So I select this point, and when we have everything, we hit OK. So now it's a block. If I copy it over this wall, it will automatically hide everything. Okay, so we could actually use them, but we want to make it adaptive, so we can make all these changes with it. So we select the block, we go to edit, we select OK, and now we can start working. So the first thing we need to do is to define that we want to change the thickness of the wall and also the width of the door. So we could use the linear, but there is also one thing we need to do. We need to set base point. So this is the origin of the door. When we want to paste it somewhere, this is the origin. Next I will select alignment, because sometimes the walls are they have an angle, and if we don't want to manually change the angle of the door, we can actually specify this alignment point, which will allow us to automatically align the door with the wall. So I click on this point, go to the left, and make sure that the arrow direction is down. Okay, it's much better if you try to create a door. So now we can start with the dimensions. So I click on linear, and this time I start from this point and end here. Okay, so this distance is the thickness, so I can select it and change the distance name to thickness. Okay, now we need to define the width. So again, linear, click on this point, but be careful, please do it on the side where you have the swing, because we need it later to make the swing bigger or smaller based on the width. So make it on the side where you have the swing, not on this side. So like this. Perfect. And this will be called width. Perfect. Okay, so now we need to select both of these dimensions and change the number of grids from 2 to 1. So we only have one arrow here from this one, and another one from the width is here. Okay, So we have these tools for the thickness and the width. The next thing we need to do, we need to define that we can flip the door. So I select flip. First we can select this horizontal flipping, so flip state, and I want to move this arrow in the center and the flip state close to the arrow. Now we need to create a flip left and right, so again go from the center to the top, and I think I can move it down, and I think we can leave it like this. Perfect. So we have this width, thickness, flip, flip state. Perfect. Nice. So the next thing we need to do is to actually define the annotation. So we go to insert, define attributes, and the first attribute I want to add is the mark, the number of the door. So I name it mark. Prompt we can leave empty, and the default value can be, for example, door 01. Okay. Then we need to change the justification. In my case, I want to use middle center. Text style, we can leave it to this font, and we need to change the height. Well, in the project, the height of the, or on the drawing, the height of the text should be 2.5, and because I want to draw it in a scale 1 to 50, it's 50 multiplied by 2.5, which is 125. So this should be great for the scale 1 to 50. So hit OK, and I paste it here in the center. So we have mark. We click define again, and I want to have another value here which will show us if the door is left or right. So we can type, for example, direction. Default can be left or right, and again middle center, and hit OK. So we paste it somewhere here. So we have mark and direction. Over this line there should be the width. So again I click on define attributes, I type width, but in this case we don't type the default, but we actually need to like connect it with this width parameter. So we click on the small button here and make sure that you have all category there. Select block placeholder, select width, this is our parameter that we already created, and we can change it to decimal with precision set to 0, and hit OK, and middle center. Yeah, and we want to rotate it by 90 degrees, so hit OK. I want to have it somewhere here, for example. And now we need to create height, because usually under this line we should see the height of the door. So again, define attributes, height, and we can just type a default value because we don't have any parameters there that we could connect. And middle center, and that's it. So we align it here, but I forgot to change the rotation by 90 degrees. Perfect. So we have everything, and now we need to define which elements should stretch or scale. First, we need to stretch this end of the door because we want to change the width. So we click on stretch, we select the width parameter, we click on this arrow here, and now we need to draw a rectangle here and select all these elements. But we need only to stretch these elements there, so these lines and the wipeout. So using Shift, I uncheck these elements because I don't want to have them in this stretch rectangle. I hit enter. So now we can stretching this end of the door. Next thing we need to do, we actually need to stretch these elements because all these annotations should be always in the center of the door. So we click stretch, we click on the width, the endpoint, I create a rectangle there, and in this rectangle I want to have all these annotations, and also these flip states. Okay, so the name, the arrow, the name and arrow. So they will always be in the center of the door. So I think we selected everything, so we can hit enter. But we need to edit one thing, because these elements should always be in the center, which means when we click on the stretch number 1, we need to go to properties and change the distance multiplier. We need to change it from 1 to 0.5, which means it always be in the center, in the 50% of the whole length. So that's it. And the last thing we need to do with the width is the scale of the swing. So I click on scale, I click on width, and now we need to select these two lines, because when we change the width of the door, we also need to scale the swing. So I select this one, and hit enter. So when we change the width, these elements will move on the wall distance, these only on the half, and this will scale. Okay. Next thing, we need to use the thickness. So we click stretch, we click thickness, and now we need to select more elements. So I draw a rectangle like this, but I won't add these elements because we will do it separately later. So I just need to select these lines representing the swing. Also, I try to select all these elements. I don't need to have thickness there, but I need to have all these lines, the width, and I need to uncheck this line. So the swing, the width, because I need to move it up and down based on the thickness, and also all these elements, all these lines there. So I think that's it. So we can hit enter. And now we need to change the distance of the flip state, because when we change the thickness of the door, we always need to have the flip state in the center. So we do something similar like this with this stretch here. So I click on the stretch, thickness, and we create a rectangle, and the only thing that we need to have here is the flip state, the arrow and the flip state. And we hit enter. And now we actually need to define the flipping. So we go to actions, flip, we select the first one, so for example the flip state, and now we need to select the object. So we need to flip the swing and all these annotations. Perfect. Now we select flip again, but this time we will select this flip. Okay, again flip. And the only thing we need to flip now is the swing. So that's it. And I think we are done for now. So we click close block editor, we save it. And we go to insert. I think I can delete this one. Go to insert, select the door we created, and please be careful. We need to make sure two things. If you create a door this way, if you have this angled wall, the numbers will be wrong. So please always try to make it down like this. And now they have the right orientation, and if you flip it, it should be all right. Also, there is one thing we need to make sure of. We need to turn off one thing. It's called mirror text. If you turn it on, make it in 1, and you flip these doors, they will flip the numbers, which we don't want to have. So please always set the mirror text to 0. Okay. So that's it. So we set mirror text to 0 and also start this door always down. Now it's working very nice. And I think we could be done, but now I want to show you how to actually change this, which is a little bit advanced. So let's do it. So we select the door again, we go home, and we can edit the block anytime we want. So I hit edit, and we need to work with this a little bit. So I click on linear as we did before. We start here and there, and we can rename it, for example, circle distance. So this is one thing, we need to change the distance of it. And also I want to define a rotation. So I click here, and for example something like this, and we have an angle. So, and now we need to edit some things, like first we need to stretch all these elements, which we can do using this circle distance. So again, we change the number of grips to 1, and we hit stretch. So we select the circle distance, stretch, then we create this rectangle here, and we select everything we have here, also the line. Okay, so we hit enter. So now we can move it up and down, and now we need to add this angle to these flip states, and also to the stretch number 2, which is always keeping these elements in the center. So first we need to edit the flip state. So we have the flip state here. We can right click, action selection, modify selection set. So I want to add the angle. So if we flip, the angle will flip on the other side of the door. So that's one thing. Then we need to make sure that the angle will always be here in the center of the door. So we need to change this stretch number 2. So we click action section set, modify. We create the rectangle one more time, and this time we click on the angle, so we add it to the set. Okay, so I think now we made sure that the angle will always be here. And the last thing we need to do, we actually need to use the angle to change these elements. So I click on rotate, I select the angle, and we need to select direction, this line, and also mark, hit enter, and now I think it should work. So close editor, and I create a new, so we can make sure that it's all right. So like this, perfect. So if you want, you can change the angle of this annotation. If you want, you can actually change the thickness of the door. We should send it to the front and region again. Also, we should be able to change the bit. So if we type again, it should change. And also we should be able to flip it and flip it to the next. And also change the distance. Okay, so there's one thing we forgot to do. So make sure to go to edit again. And also we need to make sure that we flip the distance, the circle distance. So I click on this flip state again. So it's this one. Action, modify selection set, and we add the circle distance. Enter, save it. So now it should be at the right side. So that's it.